In this video, we are exploring all or nothing thinking, the belief that if you can't do everything perfectly, that you've somehow failed. We'll talk about how this shows up in disability and neurodivergence, especially autism, and how the philosophy of tools, not rules, can help some people. You'll learn the following: why tools, not rules, makes self-care a lot more flexible, how all or nothing thinking can affect daily life, and the ways that counselling and compassion can support you if you want to make changes. As a reminder, self-care isn't about perfection. It's about what helps you today. Hello and welcome or welcome back to Unwinding Minds. If you're new here, hi, I'm Rosie. I'm a chronically ill counsellor based in the UK who specialises in supporting disabled, neurodiverse and chronically ill people with managing their mental health. I also make these videos as a supplement to my private counselling practice, and that's in order to be able to support everyone in the wider community, including those who cannot access counselling services with a professional like myself at this moment. It's important to state, however, that these videos are not a substitute for counselling. They're only intended to support you with psychoeducation. Today, I'm talking about a philosophical approach that I have that can be helpful when working with clients, and that is tools, not rules. Although this phrase might sound simple, it can hold a lot of power, partly because it's quite easy to remember, and in my humble opinion, it's especially helpful if you've ever felt stuck in black and white or all or nothing thinking when it comes to self-care. This frequently comes up when I work with neurodivergent and chronically ill clients, and I think it might be a byproduct of living in a highly individualistic culture, or it might be partly down to the human tendency to assume that things are more rigid than they really are. I think that the best place for me to start today is to define what I mean by all or nothing thinking in this context. All or nothing thinking is when we view things in extremes. It's this idea that if I don't do everything perfectly, then I have failed altogether. Either I'm keeping up with all of my coping strategies, or I'm not coping at all, for example. Or if I fail this test and get a lower grade than I wanted at the end of the year, then my life is over and I am a failure. We'll explore other examples as we go, of course, but that should give you the general idea. And this type of thinking is surprisingly common. Research suggests that it's one of the cognitive distortions, that's what it's called in CBT anyway, that is most often linked with depression and anxiety. This thought pattern can be seen in anyone, and it's commonly covered, as I said, particularly in CBT. For many neurodivergent people, the stakes can feel even higher because daily life already requires extra adaptation and effort. It's often also exacerbated by masking. If you live with a disability or you're neurodivergent, you might recognize some of the feelings I'm about to talk about. Feeling like you must complete your full self-care routine every single day, otherwise it doesn't count. Thinking that missing a therapy exercise or forgetting a mindfulness practice means that you're back at square one. Telling yourself, if I can't do everything, then I might as well do nothing. It might also mean that you feel very strongly that jobs which are half finished are failed jobs because they are incomplete. Glass half empty, anyone? These thoughts are often very heavy, constant, and can cause painful feelings. They can bring about guilt, shame, a sense of failure, and often any efforts you are making, you'll minimize until there's nothing left but hurt. All or nothing thinking is classically associated with autism in particular, through rigid thinking patterns. Research suggests that many autistic people tend to process information in a very detailed and organized way, which can sometimes lead to strict patterns of thinking. This isn't a bad thing, it's just a different form of cognition. In fact, it can be wonderful in some situations to be able to see things in such a detailed and organized way. However, when it comes to self-care in autistic people, routines and coping strategies might feel like rigid rules rather than flexible tools. If an autistic person misses a step, it can feel very upsetting or cause them to be very hard on themselves. It's important to understand that it's a natural part of how the autistic brain often likes to have structure and clear rules to follow. By viewing coping strategies as helpful options rather than strict requirements, however, autistic individuals can respect their needs for predictability whilst also allowing a little bit of room for flexibility and self-compassion. Listen, we all have off days. I don't spend every day on a mountaintop meditating and doing asana flows for 3 hours to give myself a zen feeling and be in the right place about life. If you're physically ill, some flexibility in ideas around self-care may be hard to accept at first, but it's usually necessary to have more flexibility. The same applies to neurotypical people and those who are not yet disabled as well. Self-care fluctuates and does not need to be rigid to be effective. And that's where the philosophy of tools, not rules, really comes in. Tools are things that we can use when they are helpful. They're not meant to police us. Think about it in this way. If you had a toolbox at home, you wouldn't berate yourself for not using a hammer for every DIY job. You'd only take it out when you needed to put a nail in the wall. Hopefully, you wouldn't pull it out if you needed to plaster a wall. If a tool doesn't work for the job, you can always choose another one. Mental health strategies are the same. Some days you need a hammer, some days a trowel, and some days it's just not a good day for DIY. When we treat coping skills as tools, we give ourselves flexibility. We can pick up what's useful in a given moment and set aside what isn't. Part of the problem is the way self-help is often presented. Messaging can range from being subtle when we're told things like, if you want to look toned, you should do this exercise every day. Or it can be much more direct. If you skip your gratitude journal, you're not being very mindful, and you're falling into bad habits. Notably, there's little to no flexibility or compassion with either of those examples. The kind of messaging I was talking about there can unintentionally reinforce all or nothing thinking. It can make us feel that coping strategies or self-improvement goals are obligations, duties, rather than resources or choices, which makes them less appealing, honestly. In this way of thinking, progress is treated as a simple game of addition and subtraction, rather than a process or a dance. There's a simple truth that applies to us all. Progress is not linear. It ebbs and flows like the tides. A step backwards doesn't erase the step forwards. For disabled and neurodivergent people especially, though not exclusively, the all or nothing way can be harmful because sometimes, despite the best of intentions, our bodies or our brains simply won't cooperate. And that's not a failure, it's just reality. The best laid plans of mice and men and all of that. Your life is a moving picture. It would be very strange indeed if you kept consistency with all things at all times and never needed to change or adapt your approach. If you find yourself caught in this black and white cycle, counselling can be an invaluable space. A therapist can help you to notice and name these patterns of thought. They can help you to explore where they might have come from. Perhaps from childhood, high expectations, perfectionism, or ableist messages from society. And something else that counselling can help you to do is to learn to challenge all or nothing thinking with more compassionate, balanced perspectives. But counselling isn't just about techniques. It's also about having someone sit alongside you as you practice being kinder towards yourself. Really good therapists will help you by modelling behaviours and thoughts of self-compassion, and will also give you the opportunity to try things yourself. So, what might coping with all or nothing thinking look like in practice? Here are just a couple of strategies that maybe you could try. Redefine success in smaller steps. Instead of, I must do a full 30 minutes of yoga every day, it could be, if I do 3 minutes of asanas today, that's a win. Use compassionate language. Replace I failed with I did what I could with what I had today, and that's enough. Create flexible routines. Have a menu of coping tools. Write it down if you want to, perhaps through journaling, stretching, sensory regulation, or connecting with a friend. You can look after yourself, and you can pick what feels the most possible in the moment. And finally, come back to that phrase when you notice you're slipping into all or nothing thinking. Remind yourself, tools, not rules. Write it down somewhere visible if you can, on a sticky note, in your phone, wherever you'll see it. It's a gentle prompt to treat your mental health strategies as supports, not as obligations. Not a duty, not life or death, just tools in your tool belt. The truth is, none of us can do everything all of the time, and that's okay. Mental health isn't about ticking every box perfectly. It's about finding what helps you today. Remember, you're not failing if you're not doing it all. You're still moving forward, even if it's in smaller steps than you had hoped. So next time you catch yourself thinking in black and white terms, pause. Remind yourself, these are tools, not rules. You're allowed to have flexibility. You're allowed to have compassion. And most importantly, you're allowed to be human. If you're still here, I am so grateful to you for spending this time with me today. Please don't forget to like the video if you've enjoyed it, or if you've learned something, or to subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more videos like this. We cover many aspects of chronic illness, disability, neurodivergence, and mental health on this channel, and we do upload pretty regularly. I pay attention to the subjects that you show the most interest in, so if you'd like to leave a comment below if you have thoughts to offer about this one, I'm eager to hear them. If this video has resonated, perhaps you could share it with someone else who might find it useful as well. And do check the description if you are interested in working with me on a one-to-one base around the difficulties that I described in this video, as I do offer private counselling. Thank you so much for watching, and take really good care.